everybody. Hello and welcome back to Tale of Four Gamers. Hi, how is everyone? Woo!
Yeah. Good. Yeah, thank you.
Hey.
Yeah, not bad.
This is Tale of Four Gamers. I don't know what we're calling this episode. It's kind of the June update. We're sorry we've been away for a bit. We didn't manage to get a May update in because all of us had like various personal things and scheduling conflicts and life, which means it's been a little while. But I think this is kind of the sort of Legions Imperialis finale episode, right? Because we've done the event. That's the big thing. Yeah. So this is our slightly a few weeks delayed Legions Imperialis finale episode. If you've not watched A Tale of Four Gamers before, hi, I'm Ian. These are the other 3 4 gamers. We sort of build armies, much like the Tale of Four Gamers series in White Dwarf. We build armies over a period of months, and you can join in too, following along with the community updates and with our Patreon and our Discord and things like that. And it's been a weird few months. We'll get into that in a minute and what the plans are for the rest of the year. But in this episode, we have built Legions Imperialis armies, and we've played games with them, which is success. We've learnt a new game, everyone, and we've played it.
Yay!
The stated aim of Tale of Four Gamers has happened.
Although, guessing by the group chat last night, maybe we haven't quite learnt the game.
That is fair, yeah. Just on the plan in this video, the way we're going to do it, it's going to be slightly different to a normal one. We're going to do the plan. We've got a plan for the rest of the year with Tale of Four Gamers. We're going to change things up a little bit to try and get back on track and do it a bit more normally. We'll get to that once we've done our updates. We've all been to lots of events in the last 2 months because it's summer, so that's happening. So we'll chat about those when we get to our individual updates, because that's like a little update of not only our armies, but also like what we've been up to for the last 2 months. But first, we should talk about Legions Imperialis. We did an event. It was really nice. We did a lovely little event at Bad Moon Cafe in London, which many people rightly said was a fantastic gaming venue, because it is. I think it's got this lovely blend. I was saying that to Paul, who came over from Ireland to play. It's got this lovely blend of being, it's like a board game cafe first that has a bar, nice coffee, and good pizza. And its location is like in the bottom corner of a massive student halls for King's College. And so it manages to exist as a board game cafe, which then happens to have like 12 full-size 6x4 wargaming tables and all the terrain, and also sells Warhammer and that sort of thing. And because of that, it's got this really nice thing which you don't get in a lot of places, which is it's like big and airy and clean and air conditioned, and it's not like a smelly, stuffy, cluttered place. It's like very nicely laid out to be a nice place for like board game people to want to go. So it's a very nice venue. It's like it's the best. I still think it's probably the best of that sort of model I've ever seen. Of like,
yeah, I think I'd agree that it's probably the nicest. The other one that I think is comparable in terms of niceness and mixture and diversity of crowd is the one we went to in Nottingham. Dyson.
Oh, the Dice Cup. Yeah, the Dice Cup's really nice. Yeah,
Dice
yeah.
Cup. Yeah, Dice Cup. I'd say Dice Cup and Bad Moon Cafe are on a par, I would say.
Yeah, and Bad Moon, it's just got that.
I think the other thing is the one small downside is all the Magic players who go there.
Yeah, so they do Magic, and they do a lot.
Make it clear that I'm joking about that, but there's a lot of Magic at Bad Moon, isn't there?
There's a lot of Magic at Bad Moon, but they've got separate tables for that, so it doesn't interfere with the Warhammer. They've got like big, long bench tables that they do like Magic and Lorcana tournaments and things like that on.
They had Siege Studios there when we did Legions Imperialis.
Yeah,
doing a workshop.
Pal's Siege Studios, which I'll get to in a little bit. But so Siege Studios have been running painting weekend sort of painting classes there, which is really nice. That's where we did it. It was really nice. Everyone came down. We nabbed 4 tables, filled them with a mix of terrain. They had some Titanicus terrain, and then we bought some. And 8 players learnt the game. Yeah, it was lovely to see everyone, as always. We played, the original intent was 3 games, but basically the first game, as you might imagine, ran a bit long as we were all deciding what we were doing.
Yeah.
Which then ran into the second game. And I think we had the tables booked in the evening as well, but I know a few people had to leave around like dinner time. And I think we were getting to the point where it was like 5:30 and we couldn't quite we didn't think we'd quite fit another full game in for a lot of people before a lot of people had to leave or get Bobbie, you had to get the train back home and things.
Yeah.
So we did 2 full games. Like I think we did 1,000 points and a 1,500 point game. And then instead of a last game, we did a Titan off, which was actually really, really fun. We all picked a Titan or a Knight and then run them around the board trying to kill each other with the basic Legions rules, which are not well suited for that, but it meant that we actually learned. It was actually really good at learning. It did its job, right? The purpose of the event was for us to like learn what we were doing, and the Titan game meant we learned how those worked.
Yeah. And for the first time, I actually won something.
Oh, yeah, you won the Titan off.
Well, I won both of my games, largely because of the completely accidental choice of taking loads of infantry in my army.
Turns out that's a good idea.
And very little to do with actual generalship, and mainly due to, well, I've only got infantry ready, so I'll use loads of that. Yeah, then I totally didn't team up with another person using a Warhound, and we totally didn't let everyone else kill each other while we stalked around the edges. Yeah. And then I didn't totally fluke the win at the end.
You and Paul realised that the Warhound loadouts you'd chosen without knowing what they did were the ones that basically couldn't hurt each other?
Yeah. So we had a round of combat where neither of us did any damage to the other.
Yeah.
Like we literally haven't hurt each other. Should we just team up and go and kill them instead? And then when at the end it was only us 2 left, I think it took us about 8 or 9 turns for one of us to kill the other. It was hilarious.
That's how that went. Otherwise, yeah, it was just really fun. Really fun to see everyone. Really nice to do one of these little meetups. And we were originally planning it for somewhere in the middle of the country, but it's been a really busy few months to organise anything. So Bad Moon Cafe, which is kind of local to me, certainly, was where we did it. And we're going to try and do some more events later in the year. So that was really nice. What did we all think of the game?
Yeah, I really
it's a good system, I think.
Mm-hmm. No, I really enjoyed it. I think the actual core of the game is really solid. There's a few special rules, and there's a few statting things that maybe are a little bit wonky, maybe a few points values that are not quite right, but I think these are all things that
could be ironed out, right?
Could be FAQ'd or errated to fix.
My hope is that they do something similar with, I hope it's here's my cat. I hope they do something successful enough that they get to the stage they got with Necromunda. Come here. Sorry, my cat's being noisy, everyone.
That's all right. He's a noisy cat.
Yeah, they get to the stage. They get to this that they got to with Necromunda, where they get all of the basic stuff released, and then start releasing new stuff where they fix a lot of the balancing issues, introduce specialist units and stuff. So a bit how they went from the sort of the small gang books that they did for Necromunda up to the House of books.
Yeah.
And just took it that sort of next step, you know? Excuse me, I'm going to bring Andrew up because nobody's seen him for ages. No, he doesn't want to be picked up today for some reason.
What I
Sorry.
noticed in the game was how quickly things get removed from the table. And basically choosing the order that your stuff is released. You know, you give your opponent options. Here's all my things. Which one are you going to kill? And then you manage what happens after that.
Yeah, that's true. You're very much going like, when I move these out, they could easily just be wiped off the board in one shot. You have to be okay with whole squadrons of tanks just going.
Yeah, you can't be precious about anything in this game.
This wildly different swingy game where you've got like, if you've got some things out in the open and you've got something that can shoot them, you might just wipe them all out. But if your infantry can get into a building, they're almost invulnerable. And so there's an awful lot of like, can I give them too many targets to shoot everyone, or can I keep them in the buildings? You're either wiping things out or only hitting on 6s. And it makes it a game that's all about which order you activate in. And like, if I can do this first to go there, then they move that there, then I'm on first fire so I can shoot that, then I can move my guys onto the objective. And it becomes that sort of game, which I really enjoy. Once you get the hang of it, it becomes really fast.
But when you've got like some charges lined up, you know that the enemy's going to get a turn to move something back. So you got to set up 2 charges at once. So one of them will definitely reach there, because if you only set up one, it's very easy for them to react before you and move backwards.
Yeah, or things like we came up with yesterday, which is like, you might have put loads of things on first fire orders, so you're going to shoot all my tanks. But if I can charge you You can still shoot into combat with first fire before the fight happens. It's just -1 to hit. So you can even set up charges as distractions to occupy all of your first fire units.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want those first fire units all actually getting to shoot important things first. They're going to have to shoot these charges so that, it's quite nicely done. It's there are some really counterintuitive rules which we keep getting hung up on, which are just really annoying. I don't know if we mentioned this in a previous one, but it's things like the anti-tank rule means that your AP works against vehicles, but not against infantry. That makes sense. Then there's a rule called light anti-tank, which is the opposite. Your AP works on infantry, but not vehicles, which feels like the complete wrong word for that. And then there's a rule called light, which means your weapons don't work against vehicles. And it's like some of those there's a great thing where it's like the assault rule does what rapid fire does in every other game. And then there's a different rule called rapid fire, which is exploding sixes. It's just like, why didn't you label this the same?
And when linked is now called accurate and...
Yeah.
I've got a funny thing, designed the game with all the same names as every other rule. And it feels like that sort of thing where some bigwig who doesn't actually understand the games came along and said, no, you can't use the same terminology for both games.
Yeah.
Because there's too much over. It's almost like someone who wasn't involved in the process made that decision rather than somebody who was. Because it'd have been better just come up with completely different names of things as well.
Yeah, it's a really weird thing to get used to. There's also some very complex rules that we were trying to, like, interactions with, like, attached, like, they've got a system where your detachment can have these, like, attached units, which then sometimes do and sometimes don't count as a different unit. And it gets very confusing when one of them is in combat and thing. We hit all this yesterday. So there are some really, it's actually an incredibly simple game until you hit certain things, or until you hit the weirdnesses around the naming of certain things.
Again, I get the feeling with the attached units. I feel like that was they designed the game, they didn't have that rule in it, and then they realized, right, we're going to release a box that's only got 2 stands of assault marines in, so you've got to make a way that they can be used in the game. And it's like, okay, right, so we'll come up with this attached rule. And I think that rule felt like it was bolted on after every other rule had already been established.
Yeah.
Maybe to fix what they were given model-wise in the box or something. Because it just feels, that rule in particular feels clunky is not quite the right word, but it's like the closest one I can come up with. Do you know what I mean?
Like, the idea's there, but it's clunky. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it feels it in a game that's otherwise so simple.
Finding that the units and detachments works for the missile and the plasma, but when something goes out of coherency, it should just be a simple rule that it now becomes a separate detachment. Once you go, like a 6-inch away unit shouldn't be part of the same detachment.
It's weird, isn't it? The other thing is you just don't do it as a detachment. You just have them in the same squad. You just go, look, you're not a separate detachment. This squad is 10 guys with bolters and 2 guys with jump packs.
Yeah,
and 2 guys with swords. Yeah, and that's the same squad and that's the same coherency. Anyway, yeah, there's a load of things like that which are a little weird, but and obviously it's a very abstracted game.
Fantastic game.
Yeah, otherwise it's genuinely a really good game.
I mean, I've got a few more things for it, so I've not wrote it off. Transport and stuff, because during the event, I saw how useful rhinos were to get troops quickly over onto an objective and claim it.
Yeah,
I'll buy a box of those. They're great.
Yeah, there's a lot of very objective heavy games as well. Almost all the there's loads of missions, and all the missions are very like get the following objectives, move them around or hold them. Otherwise, it was a really, really fun event. So I'm glad we now know how to play. Well done, everyone. We've learned a game. Well done, everyone who painted an army. We'll get to you at the end. It's good. We've played it since. Me and Gary have played it since.
Yeah.
Woo! And well done us. With that, we should probably go through our individual updates, because not only have we been building armies, obviously, and some of us have shown our armies already, but also we've been doing tons of other stuff. But let's go through how we've been, and then what we'll do is we'll go through what we're going to do with Tale of Fire Gamers next. And then we'll go through everyone's community updates because there's some lovely big army photos there. So in the order in my document, the first person is Gary. What have you been up to, Gary, in the last 6-7 weeks?
It's been a little bit busy. So we went to Comic-Con again.
We did, yeah. I was there.
Yeah, so brought Lou again. This time also my partner came. After last year, Lou wanted more mechanical arms for himself because he was like a bit jealous, I guess.
Yeah.
To fuck off the mechanical arms. So he got some made for this year, which he wore for about half the day before he was like, oh, I don't want them.
Yeah. I think just as I got there, he was like, I hate this, take it off of me.
Yeah, so, well, I think he wore it for about 2 hours. And then he was like, okay, bored of the arms now, they're getting in the way, put them back in the car. So yeah, we did that. There was lots of other cosplayers. We played loads of arcade games, which I was quite happy with, you know.
We have basically the same trip we did last year, which is where we were spotting Spider-Mens everywhere.
Yeah.
For photo ops.
Everyone from the Spider-Verse, it was like Lou would run over to them and go, I'm Spider-Man, you know, this is and yes, that was good. I really enjoyed how a lot of the adult cosplayers took time to speak with him and stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to point out something from the photo there with the Green Goblin. Ian in the background. That looks like the most uncomfortable way to sit I can imagine.
I was very
it literally
comfy.
looks as if you're broken and happy about it.
My legs just bend that way. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think I could get into that position. It looks as if the Green Goblin has literally shattered your spine, dumped you on the steps. You're like, oh, hey, everyone. I've just been assaulted by the Green Goblin.
I'm a victim of a goblin assault.
Other hobby stuff I got up to was Necromunda came out with the Spyros. But the good thing about that is
Boo, Spyros.
it's base sizes, so I now know how to base my old metal one. So I've got round to doing that. I put them all on tactical debris, so they're a little bit bigger, so they'll match the new sort of sizes. But yeah.
Yeah, the new models look fun. There's like the big Horus one, and then they've basically got, it looks like they're going to have a kit for that does the other three, right?
Yeah, so I think the kit is like you mix and match the arms to create the other three. But I really like the fluff of the Horus is kind of like an amputee where they've removed his limbs so they can fit into the suit.
Yeah.
Like, pretty grim.
Very grim. Just so that you can go and hunt humans.
Hopefully they'll come up with rules for it this time that don't completely ruin Necromunda. I honestly felt like the last time they came up with Spyros, Spyros were utterly unfun to play against.
Look at what's come out in that box so far. I think the idea is possibly that you don't run them as their own gang. I think you add to your gang as a specialist. And I think once you take it, you won't have a lot of gang left. And it's the gang that gets you going in the campaign, so you won't have much way of generating revenue because, you know, Spyro brats don't collecting money, do they? So I finished building my spaceship, all the Soul Shackle stuff that you gave me.
Yeah.
It's now fully assembled, waiting for paint. For Legions, sort of wrapping that up, I bought loads of dreadnoughts on eBay, basically. I was looking for one or two, and so they were selling them for like £9 on the sprue, and I was like, I'm not paying that. And then someone was selling 16 of them for 30, and I was like, right, I'll have that.
Yeah,
Wish
I'd seen that.
And then the other thing, I was after the event, I was looking at the struts on the Prospero building. I didn't really like the way the glue was around the plastic struts, so I came up with a way to cover that over some, I think it's Japanese tape, like washi tape or tape, which had these patterns on it, which I then added some gold to in verdigris and put these bigger sort of hats on the top to hide the joins. Much happier with the Prospero now, so yeah, we took it round to Ian's. I took it round to Ian's house last night to play a game and take some photos for today's update. And yeah, I really enjoyed the new style of dome.
They do look really good with the Titans stalking around behind them, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that you can lift the domes up and put the infantry in the on top of the building. They put the dome on, and then they're kind of like actually inside the building.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just lift the dome up and the infantry go in, and that's how you're garrisoning it. It's really good.
The idea at the start when I decided to do the domes was kind of meant to be a cheap way of bulking out what you get in the sets. But I think at the end I've spent about 80 to 100 pounds on it. So like and the failed pieces that didn't work and such.
You've got something pretty unique out of it.
Yeah,
though.
I'm happy with it, but I could have probably just bought another box of plastic and had the same height. It did take me down the gold and red route, which I like. So.
Do look
I
really
do
good,
think
though.
that sometimes there's something to be said for spending a little bit extra and getting something completely original.
Yeah.
I also
like
think
people
the
were so
map that you
impressed.
bought, deep cut, that was like meant to be more grey but turned out more pink, actually works really well with it now as well.
Yeah,
It's like one of those fortunate accidents.
Yeah, people were really, really impressed at Bad Moon Cafe as well when people saw the Prospero board. So, yeah, because you brought that down for terrain.
I'll have to find 1,000 Sun player so we can do an actual Prospero battle.
Exactly. Brilliant. So that's a load of stuff. Bobbie, what have you been up to other than this colossal Legions Imperialis army? Wow.
Yeah, I did take a photo of my whole army eventually. I think I've got over 3,500 points of just Marines now, because I also have the fast attack box, which was released after that photo was taken. So I've got all of the land speeders and jet bikes and those, which I'm part way through. I built, I haven't painted yet. So yeah, Legions Imperialis. I have quite a lot of it.
It was a very big army with a very impressive giant Thunderhawk. Yeah,
the Thunderhawks. I definitely went very heavy on flyers for the event. The Thunderhawks and the Xiphons and the Storm Eagles. They all did a lot of work.
Flyers are very impressive in terms of dishing out a lot of hurt for their points.
But they are quite easy to kill.
If you've actually made sure you include in your army the right things to kill them, then they're fairly easy to kill. Because if you haven't, they're also very difficult to kill.
Especially Thunderhawks.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that's like, you have to include something that can at least hurt flyers, even if it's not their main purpose.
Yeah.
Because flyers are very, very killy.
Very good for bombing, I found out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have been, we'll get to this in a bit, but you've been doing some old worlding.
Yeah, I didn't get the memo that we were putting a pin in the old world, apparently, and have bought an orc army, which is possibly the most army that you could possibly do, because other than my undead army, which is also many, many figures.
Yeah, you're just doing hordes, nothing else.
Yes, apparently so.
Yeah, all sorts. We have some brilliantly. I see you've started naming your characters.
I have. Joel Gork Speaker, my shaman.
Yep.
Lurgan Grimgit. All names are hard. Head Taker, who's my war boss, and then Borgon the Collector, who's the banner bearer. He collects all the trinkets. So yeah, those are the only characters I have at the moment. In on the made to order and got the Marauder Giant, and then both bits of Stone Trolls. So I'm sorted for heavy hitters. I didn't get the River Trolls. I'm somewhat regretting not getting the River Trolls, but I thought the Stone Trolls had like the best set of special rules and stats, and then just so many orcs. I've done some with spears, some with 2 hand weapons, some with bows, thoroughly looking ones from the now discontinued Bones Splitters kit, and then enormous regiments of Black Orcs, because that's just what I want for my army.
And I noticed that none of them have heads on.
None of them have heads on, no, because I find the orcs kind of awkward to paint with the head on, because it gets in the way of their chest. So yeah, I'm going to paint them all with the heads separate and then stick the heads on afterwards.
Yeah, very good. And are you using fancy heads for these?
It's mostly going to be the ones that come in the kit, and I'm going to swap stuff around. But I also picked up a few from Cromlech.
Oh, yeah.
They got some really nice resin heads that they've released recently that are suitable for fancy-styled orcs. So
Great.
I have a few of those.
So, Bobbie, you're actually still doing Old World, which we'll get to in a bit, because contentious subject, at having finished the biggest Legions army any of us have built.
Yeah, I need to start painting some of these guys, and I haven't quite worked out how I'm going to do that. I want to find the right color brown spray paint.
Yeah.
And I kind of want something that's similar to that sort of snakebite leather, kind of orangey, light brown color.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There's quite a good army painter do a fur brown, which is very it's in that orangey tone.
My experience with the army painter sprays is mixed. That some of them are good, some of them, like I got their like bolt gun metal equivalent, and it sort of stays very sticky even when you finish. Like it's fully cured, but it's still.
I do have a can of that fur brown actually that is pretty much run out, but actually the fur brown army painter one, I don't know if it's color by color are different or if it's literally batch by batch are different, but the fur brown one did work perfectly well for me. It's a similar color to Scrag Brown once you actually get it on there.
Yeah, it's like slightly darker than a slate white leather.
Yeah, I was going to say slightly darker than Scrag Brown, but a similar sort of warmth to it.
Yeah. Also, you should look at things like, I know Colourforge are coming out with lots of colours. I was at Expo and I saw they've been doing an influencer thing. So there's influencers pick colours. So there's more of a range, but none of them were fur brown. They were all like different colours. But they do have quite a big range already of like colour primers, so they might have something already.
Yeah, I have looked at them because I bought a can of their white recently, which was really good. They do two browns, and one of them's like a dark brown, and the other's like a beigey Steel Legion drab kind of brown. Not quite. Like.
Well, I'm sure we'll find something short of airbrush, but yeah, I think we had that chat about it's probably easier to spray brown and then paint green skin because the green skin's higher up than spray green and paint all the brown recesses. But yeah, brilliant progress. Russ, what have you been up to this fine 6 or 7 weeks?
Well, mostly the same as the last time, which was going back and forth to Kent because unfortunately my dad landed up in hospital again. So that's some excuses last month that mostly what I was doing was looking after my parents, especially my mum. I managed to do a little bit. I did get my army almost ready for the event, but yeah, my army was not quite ready. All the red was done. And I was very happy with the red that I actually got on everything in the end. Apart from that, the main thing is buying stuff on eBay has been another successful month of buying stuff on eBay.
Actually, it was a very successful month for you, wasn't it?
It was a very successful month for me buying stuff on eBay. I've bought loads of stuff on eBay. Obviously, I think I already mentioned the new army last time. Yeah, I've got 2,500 points for that, and I want to add some units to make Day of Revelation work for my Blood Angels.
Yeah.
So one thing I have done is I've stripped a bunch of old Mark IV Marines and built them as recon Marines. I'm going to be taking their bolters and adding Delac bits to make them look like bolters with a bit more range than normal. So I think I'm going to drill them out, add some styrene tubing, and then add Delac bits to make it look as if they've got some sort of element of range to them. I plan to rebase the entire army because the army that I bought, I really, really like. It looks really well painted. I think the guy who sold it, unfortunately, I think if he'd have put better photos up, I think he'd have gotten more money and I wouldn't have got it at all.
Yeah.
But I don't like the basing that they're on. It's like on the like the corkboard stuff.
Like cork rock, isn't it?
Yeah. So I've made out of plastic card, I've made myself 10 new bases, like thusly. I've got the photo as well.
Yeah. And
then I've made just a single layer mold using my old Silmaster kit. Just made base toppers to go on bases because the magnets are already attached to bases and really bloody hard to get off the bases. So I decided it'd be easier to have base toppers than to mold actual full bases, and it's working so far.
Right.
So yeah, I'm quite happy with the way the bases look. They're very simple to paint. I painted like on Wednesday when we played. I painted before I got to the store. Before I got to Bad Moon, I painted 10 of those from grey black to finished in about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So, I should be able to rebase the entire army in a relatively short amount of time.
Right.
And at the end of it, I think I'm going to have an army that I really like. So I'm just, to get to 3,000 points, I'm adding 2 recon squads, rolled, and a Contemptor, which I just bought, painted red already off eBay with a pair of conversion beamers, which is what I wanted. So then I'll have, some actual units on the board to get the board ready for my Deep Strike to arrive, hopefully.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Which I need to get ready for the last weekend of July.
Yeah, when we're going to do a thing.
Nathan's wife is going to give them a little boy that they're going to call Thundercat, apparently.
Yep, Thundercat is the name of the small child, definitely.
Thundercat, yeah.
Yep.
I think it's only going to be the middle name, sadly.
Right,
but, yeah,
okay.
Thundercat is going to be the name of their child. I've got Nathan's agreed. All he's got to do is convince Alice, and I'm sure that'll be fine. I mean, who wouldn't want to call their kid Thundercat, right?
No, who would be against that?
We're going to do an event at Hate Club over a weekend, and do a 2-day event for Nathan to get to one last big weekend before he has to go and be a dad all the time.
As we know, you can't go playing when you're a dad all the time, Gary. So yeah.
Well, I think realistically we need to look at least 6 months, probably a year of Nathan able to make it out for an odd game here or there rather than weekends, and then hopefully after that.
So yeah, we're all trying to get some bits and bobs ready for that. I've got some models that are top secret that are in production right now to try and get ready. But yeah. Brilliant. Well, I've also had a busy month, but not much in terms of painting and modelling, mostly because I've blasted through so much last time. So the army's obviously done. That was done last event, and I was happy that I finally got to play with it. I really enjoyed using the Titans, which I didn't expect, because I was never really in. But coming out of that event, I was suddenly interested in Adeptus Titanicus for the first time ever. So painting and playing with the Titans was really fun. And I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed playing with them and painting them. That was the last time I sort of got them out of the box, really. And then I haven't had much of a chance. I've finally got into a bit more of a quieter period of work. But I've been trying to catch up with all, the YouTuber stuff, making sure things like Discord and Patreon work, actually getting into a routine of posting a certain amount of videos a month, like making some things I'd always been wanting to make. So there's been loads of videos in the last month, and sort of trying to sort things out. I've got other things I'm trying to sort out, like YouTube memberships is a whole thing. I've started looking into merch, t-shirts and things like that. So I'm trying this summer, while I'm a bit quieter, to actually get all that organized. So I haven't had a lot of time for painting. One of the things I did do though, there's another video out there where I did actually talk about painting quite a lot. I was invited down to Siege Studios, who we mentioned before. They're only out in Essex. They're a sort of commission painting, one of the commission painting companies. They're also, they've got a YouTube channel where they teach painting, and they do lots of courses on painting. So I went out to see the gang at Siege Studios out in Essex and chatted for an hour about how little I enjoy painting, really, or the ways in which I've come up with to enjoy painting that aren't just sitting there with a brush every day. That was really fun. People seem to have liked that. That was good. Yeah, as Gary said, I went to Comic-Con with the gang. I was the only one not dressed as a Spider-Man.
I just realised that Peg was Gwen Stacy.
She was Aunt May, so it's from the cartoon version.
Oh yeah, that would make more sense in a way. Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. Anyway,
so yeah, went to Comic-Con. It was very big. I bought some expensive dice and not much else really. Big heavy metal dice. I bought 18 very, very heavy D6s to destroy some
they're
tables.
really nice.
Yeah.
They were expensive though, right?
They were expensive. They were like 20 quid for 6. And then I did worse at controlling my spending at UK Games Expo. So I went to UK Games Expo with Mira and met loads of people. It was really nice. It's always very nice. We went for 2 days, Friday and Saturday. Mira was working on the Games Therapy UK stand, which involves some people from Hate Club as well, which is a charity that use painting and modeling and craft in like psychotherapy to help people as like a meditative thing. Really worth checking out. They were auctioning off a big D20 signed by lots of famous people in the RPG industry. I did try and publicize that people that she was single and everyone should go and chat her up at the stand, but apparently no one took her up on it. I was trying my hardest on Instagram to solve her issue. So we went around then and met Ian Livingston, famous Ian Livingston of Games Workshop and Fighting Fantasy fame. Mira's been reading through the Fighting Fantasy books on her channel. So I'm playing through them. So, yep, they're in touch. So we had a sneak preview of the next book coming out, which was really nice. We met up with Victoria Hayward. the author of Deathwelder. She was at the Xeogenesis stand with Gav Thorpe and Andy Chambers, their new game. So I had a chat to Gav, who I've never met before. He was lovely. He's got a massive wizard beard nowadays.
I met him years ago before COVID at what I believe is now the final Black Library Weekender that happened. I don't think they've done one since COVID ended.
No.
And Gav thought I sat down at a table with him and a couple of other guys, and he was just the loveliest bloke. Just such a nice bloke to talk to, and he was so generous with his time to everyone. He was really absolutely lovely, and it was really, really lovely to meet him.
Yeah, they've been working on this new game system. I wanted to speak to Andy Chambers as well, but I was either chatting to Gav, and then they were doing lots of demos, so I didn't sort of go over in the end. But yeah, so saw them, wandered around, saw many other people, played lots of games, took lots of photos of people, and I came away with a haul of the usual thing I buy at these things, which is like nerd-themed candles. I got a mystery box from Zatu Games because they were doing these mystery boxes of board games, which was quite fun. And I got some little bit. I did the same thing as Gary, you did at Salute, and got some little Deep Cut Studios matte offcuts to go underneath models when you photograph them on the backdrops. So a selection of different little bits there, and a few bits and bobs. I got a load of weird little things. Basically, I got some nerd tea because drinking tea is now a part of book club. That for some reason. Yeah, it was fun. Absolutely knackering. I must have walked about 20,000 steps on that Saturday. I basically didn't stop walking around for like 8 hours. And at the end of it, we went to see Nightmare Live, which is really fun. It is a comedy show based on the old Nightmare game show. So I've had a busy month, even though I haven't actually built any models. Oh, I did. Apart from the Darktide game, that's the thing I built. So I did do Darktide. We did paint. Yeah, painted the Darktide game and played a few games of that when it came out. That's really fun. It's like a mini kill team, which will become relevant in a second. That's the end, sort of Legions Imperialis. So we have community updates to do. But before we do this, we'll explain how these work and also what we're going to do next. It's fair to say that we've mentioned this loads of times over the last few months because it's been obvious for the last few months, but we've been a bit screwed up by the release schedule and late things regarding Tale of Four Gamers. The last one we did, where we actually started from scratch, like properly and did this on time, was probably this time last year. It was probably like spring 2023 when we were doing Warcry. And the intention was for us to then do Legions Imperialis from like August through to Christmas, spring, and then Old World from the start of the year. And the issue we had was that Legions got delayed. So we ended up in this weird August, September, October 23 period where we were just like occasionally meeting up to do this, but not really with anything made.
Yeah.
And then we tried to start Legions in like when it finally came out in December. And then in January, Old World came out. Which meant that I think for a lot of us, getting both those things done in any sort of time just didn't happen. And it's been like that, I think, with the people, like we have, the way this works usually is that people who are on the Patreon, and that will soon be also with YouTube membership, at a certain level have Discord access. We keep the Discord quite small to make it quite easy to moderate and safe, so there isn't a big burden on moderators. And on the Discord, then every month we ask people for updates. And yeah, it's been a bit odd. There's been people doing Legions, which is nice, not huge numbers. And then in terms of Old World, there's a couple of people building, but I think a lot of people have like got things down from their loft. Bobbie, you're building the orcs.
Mm-hmm.
Gary, you basically turned your Famir into an Old World army. Russ, you're sort of doing Beastmen, but haven't done much at the moment.
Yeah, I'm still at like one finished model for
Yeah,
it.
and I'm at the same point I was when it came out. When it came out, I painted some skeletons from the box, and that's it. So we end up in this position where it's like, I think we had a chat about what we're actually going to do. Obviously, we're in this position where if we did Old World now, we wouldn't really be doing a Tale of Four Gamers. If we were like, great, that's Legions Imperialis done, we'd probably end up spending the rest of the year doing Old World armies And we're not really doing the Tale of Four Gamers thing, right? Which the intention of which is for you to all start an army from scratch at the same time and add units to it each month. So that's not really going to happen. So I think the general theme is that what we might do is put a pin in the old world, by which I mean we're still all sort of building, but we're not going to launch a new old world Tale of Four Gamers from now on. We might maybe figure out if we can get some events in for the next few months over summer, and then maybe the end of summer start the next one, which we do try and make a proper, because we haven't done it since Heresy, I think, a proper big game Tale of Four Gamers starting from scratch. And obviously, in all these updates, we're also doing other stuff. So we'll be building our goblins and our skeletons and whatever as and when we want to. We might book an event maybe over summer so that we can at least wrap up this portion of it. But I think, yeah, for a lot of us, we just haven't had a chance to do anything.
I think it was such a shame that the release schedule got messed up for Legions. I think it's damaged the game. I think it's like...
Yeah.
It's disrupted us because of the overlap between Legions and Old World. That I think like it would have been great to do Old World if we'd started doing Old World when it was released, and we could have focused on that. We could have convinced Gary to do a new army instead of thinking just about developing Dimir. We could have all done stuff at the same time that Bobbie was now doing. Her orcs, my beastmen might have gotten a bit more love and attention, etc., etc. I think unfortunately that ship has kind of sailed, hasn't it?
It's also awkward because I think we said this right at the start. If it was Legions clashing with Age of Sigmar, that's not really a problem. But Legions and Old World are both going to attract the same sorts of people.
Yeah.
And I think that's been evident on the chat. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm doing too much. There's a lot of stuff going on. Because, it's two big game systems. It's not a small one, Old World. It's a ton of models. Sorry if you've been building your Old World army dutifully along. I know there are a couple of people doing that. But yeah, I think what we're going to do is maybe try and get an event in over summer. That'd be quite nice for the next couple of months. I think if I did that, the first thing I'd do is actually make a load of movement trays for my existing Slaves to Darkness army and play with that. That would actually be my way of getting an Old World army ready.
If someone's painted some lovely Old World armies and they want to show them to us, I'd still like to see them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that while this episode's very Legions focused, I think that'll come out in the next few months. So our plan is for the next few months, it's June now. We've got July. We'll probably do an end of June and end of July. We might do a bit of an open category like we've been doing the last 2 months, like see what people are doing. We'll just get people to send in things they've been building. Maybe that'll be the intention to wrap up an Old World army. We don't know. We'll see how it goes. And then we will start the next Tale of Four Gamers at the end of summer, maybe around August time. And the next Tale of Four Gamers, I'm going to say drum roll, please. This is going to ruin all of our microphones. Drum roll, please. What's going on with the sound? Who knows? Anyway, and I know this is a shock to everyone, Warhammer 40,000. I know,
who
right?
Expected that?
Who would have expected us actually playing 40k? So look, the way we're going to do, the idea is we're going to do a very slow grow Warhammer 40k themed with events at various points. We'll iron out the details as we go. Therefore, it's not going to be tied to any particular Games Workshop release, so we can't get screwed by the release schedule. The idea is this. First, that we start with Kill Team for a few months, because a lot of people requested Kill Team. And after a few months of Kill Team, we progress to Combat Patrol. And after a few months of that, we progress to having an army. And maybe we'll do something silly after that. And the theme for this Kill Team, it's not just going to be anything. There is going to be a theme and a campaign. We're going to do the actual Badab War. I know, right? Russ, very excited. So the way we're going to do this is... and it works quite well. So if you look at the Badab War, it divides down really nicely into little categories of the engagement getting bigger anyway, right? It starts with a load of people having spaceship boarding assaults in Void with only a few different chapters, and then a load more chapters get involved and they have smaller battles, and then it gets bigger and bigger as you go on. So what we can do is a series of events, right? We could do a Kill Team for a few months and then do a Kill Team event where we play that bit of the Badab War. Then we could do Combat Patrol and do a Combat Patrol event where we play that bit of the Badab War. What we're going to say is obviously people can build what they want, but for us, the general rule will be we want the chapters and story and people participating to be accurate. But we're model agnostic. If people want to build Primaris armies or Rogue Trader armies or whatever, all fine. We're not going to stick to the usual, technically the Badab War is before Primaris, but who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way for everyone. So, and I think the idea here was that we're not locked to anything being released, any release schedule. And also, I think there's a lot of people out there with just like a pile of old Space Marines they don't know what to do with. But I think there's like a nice idea there that you could like, and also Badab allows you to change up your idea throughout. Like the way Badab works is there's four secessionist chapters who are in the whole war, and then there, as well as Imperial Guard, and then there's 16 loyalist ones that come in and go out at various times. So you could paint a kill team of one and then retire them and paint a small combat patrol or something else if you want. Later on, and then paint an army or something different later on. And I think there's a lot of people who maybe have old Marine armies that they want to convert over, or a bunch of Primaris Marines they've never done anything with, or a bunch of old bits and bobs of models, or old bit spare heresy models they want to do things with. And we've all been talking about how that could go. So yeah, that's the plan, everyone. We have yet to figure out what exactly we're doing. Badab War, it'll probably take us from this summer to like next spring. It's slow. Everyone can join in. Everyone can use whatever models they like. We're just going to try and make sure that at each stage, it's the chapters actually that did fight then. And yeah, we'll do more of that as we go. We'll plan that for late summer, and we'll see how it runs. And hopefully that will be a bit more successful and a bit more of a tale for gamers than what we've attempted so far this year.
So I really hope everyone's excited about it, because the Badab War is like by far my favourite bit of fluff from Warhammer 40k.
And it's a nice way of learning 40k, right? Like we're not doing anything too competitive. We're not doing. It's a narrative event. Everyone's on the same level because they're all using Space Marines. It lets you learn it in chunks.
I would just suggest that if people are interested in the Badab War and seeing some awesome models for it, go on to Facebook and join the Badab War Reenactment Society.
Yeah.
They're actually based in Australia, but they let anyone join. And yeah, that's a really nice group for people who are Badab enthusiasts, as it were. Just to get some inspiration for cool stuff you can do with Badab themed ideas. Some of it will be Primaris. A lot of it is sort of true to the old lore.
Yeah.
And just a lot of discussion about Badab War and awesome models for it. So yeah, check them out if you want to see more.
But without further ado, we also have the actual community updates from this month. I've kept it to Legions ones because it's a Legions themed episode. A lot of these people are people who we met for the first time or the second time sometimes at events. So Princeps Tom and his incredible Salamanders and Knights, which we have been complimenting throughout the last 6 months, really. They're really, really good. Tom was great. Tom, one of the few people at the event who'd actually played the game before, so knew how it ran. Really useful. And here is the whole army in front of, I think, an actual photo backdrop.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, I was going to say the back is amazing, right?
Yeah.
But the army just looks incredible. I played against Tom in the first game, and it was a really, really fun game that felt like it could have gone either way. And I think it was just swayed by the fact that I did have more infantry.
Yeah.
And his army, though, on the table just looks incredible. It just looks absolutely fantastic. It looks good in photos, and it looks equally good. You know, sometimes things look good in one or the other, but not both, and his looks fantastic.
Tom says here that, really enjoyed this challenge because it gets a lot of stuff done. There's no way I'd have a force this big without everyone on here keeping him motivated, and says thanks, which is great. That's exactly the reason we do this, is to try and keep ourselves and everyone else.
Maybe we can get Tom to do Salamanders again for Badab.
I know, right? Yeah, you can do Salamanders in Badab. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. So that's Tom's looking absolutely amazing. Thanks for coming down. Lovely to meet you. I've also included a few photos there of like earlier in the process when they were being made. They're really, really good. Will came down as well. Mezzo Painto came down. Will has Ultramarines. As he says, taking photos of these, he's got a point here, is really difficult. Taking photos of minis is hard. Taking photos of minis is really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Ultramarines were in force, including another giant blue Thunderhawk. And again, these are the ones which have an absurd level of detail on the shoulder pads and things. I think there's little U's in there somewhere.
Yeah, he's really gone to town.
Yeah. It's
his terrain is really well painted as well. Like he's picked out all the details and stuff. Like I think he spent a long time on it.
Yeah, the train looks fantastic. They've got a little display board there going on, which is really, really nice. But yeah, Will came down, played a few games. Very nice to see him again. And then Mustalamat on the Discord has been continuing avoiding painting tiny toys by painting overly big tiny toys. Some horrific, chaotic titans going on here.
Yeah, that's crazy dog style warhound.
Got 4
Yeah.
legs. Yeah.
A warhound with the
4
correct
legs,
number of
yeah.
legs. What's this called? A direwolf, isn't it?
It's Wolf, yeah.
Yeah, so a
direwolf,
direwolf titan with 4 legs. And then a Nemesis Warbringer chicken face.
Yeah, that's definitely
It's
a
lovely,
bit of
isn't it?
taint happening.
It reminds me a little bit of Toby, Bad Name User Tags Titans, which are all full of like animal skulls and things like that. Really, really nicely done. Very messy. They actually managed to get to Warhammer World the other month and actually play some games. So there's a few photos of the Warhounds in action there, being all creepy. Macariel Thomas was also at our event. My co-Solar Auxilia player. So we were obviously on the traitor side because everyone brought loyalists to the event, and has built a massive and very like army-looking Solar Auxilia army, like with actual camouflage and everything going on here. Tons of models. Did they play you, Bobbie, in the first game?
Yeah, I had my first game, Cariel, and yeah, it was a learning experience for both of us, I think.
Yeah, really fun. Looks amazing. Absolutely tons of stuff. The camouflage works really well, doesn't it, at that scale?
Mm.
Also, Thomas was at UK Games Expo. We bumped into him. I think we told him about it at the event, and then they came along to buy board games and various things. So everyone was having fun there. Met up with them at the UK Games Expo. Watched me, Mira, Thomas, and his wife watched some Vikings hitting each other with swords at Games Expo. Vader's Jester has also been joining in, slowly starting to finish off some Alpha Legion vehicles. I've got everything else base coated, just need to get onto the batch painting now that they're happy with the colours. We've got some Alpha Legion Sicarans going on and Dreadnoughts. Once you got that base colour down, you know what it is, then yeah, it's all just details and weathering, isn't it? Yeah, brilliant. Looking good. Hope you continue. M the Bird has done some Solar Auxilia, in particular painting the best flyer in the game, the flying brick itself, the Arvus Lighter. First pictures where I was at the beginning of May, so just some infantry, some very bright infantry there and an Arvus. And the second is the finished pair of Arvus they did. And then a snapshot of a little 2,000-point game they managed to play with some extra bombers.
Nice.
Marauder bombers are a great fun thing. But mostly they're a fun thing because flyers will get shot, but bombers get to attack in the movement phase, which is really, really handy. But yeah. Then, finally in this, we have Paul, Cheetor Shoebox on the Discord, who took some, what they're saying is adequate photos of their first 1,700 points finished force of word bearers. Evil word bearers. But actually, they're really, really good photos. And this army, Paul was also in attendance at the event. This army looks fantastic, and there's so much of it.
Yeah, it's lovely.
It's done what I think everyone's doing, which is painted the infantry from the box and then gone to town on getting loads of vehicles. And they look fantastic. They look so good. I really like the use of little word bearer symbols on the banners.
Yeah.
Banners
On the wings
are
of
amazing.
the transfers on the wings as well of the are
Xiphons.
they lightnings, or I'm not sure which ones they are. Typhons.
Xiphons.
Xiphons.
It looks fantastic, and like also like the subtle I think it's red candy over or red contrast or something over a metallic, and then a quick dry brush metallic over the top to just get the edges, which makes them look really
Also,
nice and shiny. They're like a dark Thousand Suns.
The canopy on those Xiphons, like at that scale, to paint the canopy that well at that scale,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah, he was being very self-deprecating, but this is actually a really, really beautiful army. It's really, really nice. And yeah, lovely to see him there. I think Paul's going to be up in Nottingham when Bring Out Your Leads on, so we might pop in.
Awesome.
Yeah, brilliant. That's another full army done. And that's all the community updates. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for getting to the end in this confusing 6 months, actually getting to the end of an army and trying out a new game system. We really, really like it. We will definitely be playing some Legions Imperialis in the future, I think. Is everyone happy with their armies?
Yeah. It's like I said, I'm definitely adding a few things to it. I've got transports ready to be built. I want to get some speeders and bikes, I think. So yeah, more stuff.
Bobbie's got a massive army.
And there's another book coming with some more units. The drip feed of a few more units. I might pick up some more stuff. So yeah.
And Russ is definitely going to paint his tracks.
Yeah, I've got a long way to go with my army. I'm happy with the direction it's heading, but I've still got a long way to go with mine, unfortunately.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, look, lovely to have done another Tale of Four Gamers. We have sort of wrapped. As I said, the plan will be the next few months. We're going to keep doing this monthly and just see what we make. We'll showcase everyone's stuff. We'll see if there's old world stuff in there. Give it to the end of summer, and then when we hit the end of summer, we'll launch into the planned actually playing Warhammer 40,000 over a slow grow. And we'll come up with exactly what the rules are, how that goes when we do it. But thanks, everyone. Thanks for everyone who's joining in. If you want to join in on the next one, then there'll be links coming. There's links in the Patreon and in the Discord and all that sort of thing. Thanks, everybody. That has been June's Tale of Four Gamers update. Thanks, everyone. See you all later.
Bye.
Bye.